What's going on, everyone, and welcome to another basic movie review channel. Thank you for stopping by. My name is Chase, and let's talk about one. And the one I want to talk about right now is Black Adam. Now, this one comes to us from Warner Brothers and DC Films. It's based on the comic book character of the same name, and it's already out in theaters. I know I'm a little late to the party. So, what is this movie about? Nearly 5,000 years after he was bestowed with the almighty powers of the Egyptian gods and imprisoned just as quickly, Black Adam is freed from his earthly tomb, ready to unleash his unique form of justice on the modern world. So there's your synopsis going into it. And I was kind of lukewarm going into this film. I remember back in 2007, Dwayne Johnson was announced as Black Adam. Just to put it in perspective on how long ago that was, Man of Steel came out in 2013. And that was the first film of like the new DC era that has kicked off, and that was 9 years ago. So his announcement was, quick math on that, 15 years ago? Outrageous. So it's finally here. On top of all that, the DC films have been kind of hit and miss for me. Like some of them I really, really love. Some of them I think are just okay, and some of them I'm not too fond of. And of course, Dwayne Johnson's very passionate about this. Like he was on every single talk show known to man. The promotion for this film has been crazy, so I got a little excited towards the tail end of its marketing. And speaking of its marketing, its trailers were awful. Every single trailer that came out for this film, it was just a little backstory of who Black Adam was for like 20 seconds, and then let's just have him fly around, destroy some stuff, explosion, explosion, Justice Society. Why is Hawkman in this? Who's the big guy? Who cares? But anyways, the trailers didn't really elevate my excitement at all. Didn't really expand upon the story, so I had no idea what it was I was even getting into. But I'll still give it a shot. 'Cause I love all superhero films. Marvel, DC, I don't care. Just want to watch it all. And I'm going to break up this review into two parts: a non-spoiler section and a spoiler section. So I'm just going to let you guys give you fair warning. I'm going to let you know when I give the pause. So I finally saw the film. I want to take a break to thank the sponsor of this video, Movie Palette. Hi, it's me interrupting me, and I just wanted to take a break to thank the sponsor of this review, Movie Palette. Movie Palette takes the concept of the movie poster to the next level. Movie Palette consists of stripes of colors carefully chosen by their team of artists. Every stripe represents a color of a particular scene in a movie and is put in chronological order on the canvas. There are so many movies to pick from, and it doesn't even stop there. They also have whole seasons of TV shows. I recently moved and I needed some things to put on my wall, and I was getting tired of putting up traditional movie posters and wanting something different, and Movie Palette stepped up to the plate. The movie palette that I chose was one of my favorite movies of all time, Logan. This gorgeous palette is a constant reminder of how beautiful this film is and how each scene evokes a different emotion all through its language of color, not to mention a great conversation starter. This is a unique piece to any film and TV lover's home, and I want to help you get one. Use the discount code CHASE15 for 15% off of any product on their website. Film is art, so why not display your favorite as such? That's 15% off of your order when you use the code CHASE15. It is okay at best, but to be quite honest, there's a lot of mishandling of certain things that just make me didn't really enjoy this film as much. I don't really care to watch it again, but I'll give it props on this. Excuse me. It's better than Morbius. So at least that it's got that going for it. It's even got like the same kind of end credit scene setup, and I still preferred this end credit scene over Morbius, even though it was like literally the same thing. Um, but yeah, there's some cool things to like about it, but for overall, I don't hate this film. It's just kind of blah, and honestly, there's a lot of stuff that I didn't really care for, to where it kind of drops my grade down just a little bit. But I guess let's go ahead and just break it down by section, because there's a lot to discuss. I'm gonna start with the script. First of all, the overall story feels like it was stuck in an early 2000s, kind of late 90s era. It doesn't feel um, like it fits even in this time frame, which makes sense because this was announced 15 years ago. It wasn't as engaging as I thought it would be. It's a very generic kind of storytelling when it comes to these superhero films. I was a bit annoyed that Black Adam was a supporting character in his own film. I even sat there and kind of realized that Dwayne Johnson was speaking in like one sentence lines. And I was like, there's no way in this 2 hour long movie he has dialogue that can fill up 2 pages. There's no way. Aldous Hodge, Pierce Brosnan, Noah Centineo has more dialogue than he does. So I found that to be kind of annoying. So not only is the storytelling kind of generic uh, from that standpoint, but its own main character is kind of sidelined. And on top of all that, since he is sidelined and we're focusing on other characters, there's not enough depth to them. It's just kind of like we know very little about Hawkman and like how he even got his powers because he's kind of overpowered in this. I don't know how he was going up against Black Adam or even the main villain at the end. It's insanity. I didn't think he was like that strong, but maybe he is. But how do I know? I don't really know his backstory. Doctor Fate with Pierce Brosnan, interesting character for sure. But we were just kind of laid like a basic thing, and then he's just kind of there. He does cool things, but like that's about it. Same thing with Noah Centineo and the actress that plays Cyclone here. Let me. Sorry, I'm doing this in real time here. The actress that plays Cyclone, Quintessa Swindle, she was fine. But once again, they have more to do than Dwayne Johnson does. Okay, so story, not really all there. Uh, he is sidelined in his own movie. The villain of this film doesn't even appear until like the last like 30 minutes of the film. It was teased throughout the entire thing, and when it actually happens, it was extremely underwhelming, and it was just gone just like that. And I was like, okay, cool. I felt like there were no stakes, there was no threat to anything. And so that didn't really work well with me. And then the last thing, because I know people are like picking apart the dialogue and stuff. The dialogue is whatever. Some of the jokes are fine. Most of them are pretty bad. But the other thing about this story is that it's literally 90% action. There's like a little backstory here and there for sure. At the very beginning, after the second act, and going into the third act, some exposition dump. But for the most part, this is just three long action set pieces for 2 hours. And it's exhausting. It's all set in the same place. They do not move. And if they did, it's not that far. It's just kind of like it's all within this little bubble. So the color grading of like the oranges and the yellows and just having that over and over again for 2 hours in these long extended battle sequences, it felt like I was running a marathon. So that's kind of like those are my major complaints, and that all has to do with the script, the characters, and the actual direction of this film. It's just I don't know. I feel like they could have gone a different route with this. I don't even care that the Justice Society is in this, but make them supporting characters, not the main characters. It's just kind of outrageous. So director Jomei Colette Sarah has worked with Dwayne Johnson before. He did the Jungle Cruise movie. I will give Jemay credit on this. There are some shots and there are some particular sequences within these battles that are going on that are pretty cool. He utilizes a lot of slow mo, a lot of really intense violence to really stack on how powerful Black Adam is, which I appreciate. And this is a really violent movie, by the way. I don't mind comic book movies going over the edge, but man, for a PG-13 movie, they were pushing boundaries. But once again, that kind of just shows us how powerful Black Adam is, and the fact that the darkness within him can overtake him one of these days, and he could be just an unstoppable force of evil in the future of these movies, and that's kind of exciting for me as a character to have him just go full blown villain. Because in this movie, he's in the gray zone a little bit. Definitely, he's not really good. He's not really evil. He's kind of living in that gray zone where he's doing some bad things, but also he's doing some good things as well. So, you know, he's getting there. But Yeah, and speaking of that, they didn't really do much with that either. But once again, that kind of has to go back to my original point of like he feels like he's his own supporting character. So even when we get to know Black Adam, it's through like two exposition dumps, and that's it. We didn't really get to know who the character was, or what was his thought like nothing. He was just floating around half the time, getting into fights, and then we would know a little bit of his backstory, but like we didn't get to know him like as a fish out of water scenario. This is a man that has been woken up after 5,000 years, and it really didn't seem like that phased him at all, or didn't really feel like there was like any urgency to this. It was just like he was just there. So, and that has to do, like I said, with the writing and a directing standpoint. Jermaine, like I said, had some interesting ideas, but for the most part, these action sequences are kind of drawn out. The color palette on this movie is just straight up just orange and yellow for a lot of the scenes, and it gets a little grating sometimes when you're watching it. Um, and it's just a movie that has some really great VFX, but for the most part, it's just a loud movie, and it doesn't really have any point to it all. Because by the time it was done, and the credits were rolling, I was ready to get out of there. So yeah, I didn't feel like the vision for this film was at 100% on either the directing side or the writing side. It was just kind of like just there, just a movie that was like just checklisted off of DC so they can get to the finish line so they get set up for the next movie. That's what it kind of felt like. So okay, performances. I'm going to start with everyone else and not Dwayne Johnson. Aldous Hodge and Pierce Brosnan were my favorite parts of the movie. Hawkman and Doctor Fate were my favorite parts of the movie because they brought these gentlemen brought personality to their characters. They brought something to their characters to make them stand apart and make them feel like they're a part of this universe and have them feel grounded. I liked their performance. Noah Centineo is fine. They're definitely making him like the Deadpool of this universe. And Quintessa Swindle, she was fine as Cyclone, but once again, this is not their movie. They're just kind of sprinkling them throughout. But like, if you're gonna give us them the most out of Dwayne Johnson, make them more interesting and like have a lot more to them than oh they have powers. We just called them up. Now we're a Justice Society team. Okay, I didn't feel like there was any history between these people. It just felt really random. So, um, and everyone else is fine. Let's move on to the man of the hour, Dwayne Johnson. I I appreciate the fact that he's been pushing this movie for as long as he has. He's been promoting the heck out of it. He is really great at marketing. I was not feeling him in this role. I really wasn't. And it's not because he was sidelined in his own movie, but I also felt like his performance wasn't there either. The majority of the time, his character is just stares and grunts and posing in that position where you can see his chest and his triceps and his neck muscles and just standing there. And so it is a physical performance. Doesn't mean it's good, but I just never felt like he was in it 100%. And I get it. He's a big movie star. I like watching him in movies, but it just didn't work for me in this. Now, I will take it back if he's in another movie, excuse me, and he's a thousand times better. I will be totally fine with eat my own words. But for his own movie, I felt like I was watching Dwayne Johnson in a really well-crafted suit than Black Adam and the history with this character and his original name with Teth Adam. Didn't really feel any of that. So we'll see what happens in the future, but for his initial first outing, it no. Um the visual effects are pretty good for the most part. I was actually pretty impressed that they were able to have as much green screen and I don't know if they used the volume or anything, but there were some scenes that like it looked really well blended. And obviously like Dwayne Johnson's flying, so he's gonna have to be in front of a green screen the majority of this film. But I I actually liked most of the VFX. It was though that did not bother me. Um the costumes were also really well done. Every single person had an amazing costume, and I've been to the Warner Brothers lot now, and I can like say this. Like when I was going through like their costume area, they had a Shazam costume there. The detail in those suits are immaculate. Like they are amazing. And everyone's suits here. So costume wise, I thought everyone pulled it off in that regard. So like I talked about the VFX. Like I mentioned this earlier, but I didn't really like the color grading in this movie. It was just like I said, nothing but orange and yellow. Really just kind of mutes everything and just it just gets really stale after a while. And here was actually my favorite part about the movie: the score. The score was actually really, really good. Um, I when I was listening to it, I thought it was interesting because every single scene that Black Adam was like when he was fighting or like when he was, you know, uh, talking to the Justice Society or grunting or whatever he was doing. What I liked about it was music conflicting with itself. The themes of Black Adam in some of these fight sequences are kind of battling each other with like heroic themes and like um something like a villain would have as their theme song. Like I felt like there was chords and there was notes and there was um swells of these notes that really felt like they were battling good versus evil, like as Black Adam is doing the same thing. So the score felt very anti-hero. And I kind of like that. It adds, a bit of uniqueness to this film. And that was probably my favorite part, bar none. So yeah, I really like the score. Um, Okay, yeah, that's it for non-spoiler. I'll talk about just basically two things. The obvious one and then another one for the spoiler section. But yeah, just this movie's not really for me. At most, I would say it's okay. If you don't want to see it in a theater, you can watch it at home. It's fine. But yeah, let me know down below what you thought of this film, whether you liked it, loved it, or hated it. And please let me know because I'm curious whether people had fun with it or not. There were some moments where I did have fun. I'm not gonna say it was just complete, just drab, but um, e- everything else just kind of outweighs that, and it just kind of cancels it out for me. So okay, spoiler section in three, two, one. I'll talk about the obvious one here in a second. Doctor Fate, probably the most interesting of all the characters. Pierce Brosnan died, and I was kind of a little upset because I'm like, wouldn't have mind to have seen him in future films, and so now there is a loophole around that. Doctor Fate's helmet can choose people to become the next person of that power set. So there is open opportunity for other actors to come in, or maybe like Pierce Brosnan again. I don't know, but that was upsetting just because like, come on, man, he was one of the best parts of the movie. But yeah, so I didn't think they were going to kill off Doctor Fate. Honestly, I thought they were going to kill off one of the other ones because Doctor Fate seems like the type of character that could carry on in future stories just because of his power set. Kind of like a mix of like Wanda, Maximoff, and Doctor Strange. So okay, so the end credit scene. Once again, it reminded me a lot of Morbius. You have the character of your film interacting with another character, and the other character goes, "We need to talk. Let's team up. Let's do this. Let's do something. Group up. Let's chat." I don't care what the variation is. Like they're all the same. So in the end credit scene, we do see Henry Cavill come back as Superman. Black Adam is talking to a monitor, and Amanda Waller's on it. She's like, "Listen, you better watch yourself, or I'm gonna, um, basically sick some people on you." And Superman comes down from the heavens. He slams down, walks out, and he's like, "We need to talk." I will say this: I've always liked Henry Cavill as Superman. I have no issue with that. But once again, I'm getting kind of sick and tired of like the end credit scenes, and this goes for Marvel too, where it's literally just someone popping in for a clap from the audience, and they're just like, "We need to talk," and I'm like, "Was that even necessary?" And this even goes more to my point. This end credit scene was filmed in September. This was filmed last month, so whatever. Anyways, the scene was fine. I like Henry Cavill as Superman. I love Man of Steel. I love the R-rated cut of Batman v Superman. I love the 4-hour cut of Justice League. So I've enjoyed watching Henry Cavill as Superman. And to be quite honest, I really love his suit. It's really bright. It's definitely a different shade of red and yellow and blue and everything. It's a different look, but I really enjoy it. But yeah, the end credit scene wasn't really anything. It was just more of like, hey, Henry Cavill's back, cool. But I'm getting sick and tired of the we need to talk ones. Please stop. So yeah, those are basically all the spoilers. Really, nothing else to add. So that is my spoiler section of Black Adam. Once again, please let me know down below what you thought of the film, whether you liked it, loved it, hated it, thought it was fun, all that stuff I want to know. And that will do it for this review, guys. I'm Chase Lee. Thank you to our sponsor, Movie Palette, for sponsoring this review. And I'll see you guys for the next one. Bye bye.